In this example, we want to find f inverse of x if f of x equals e to the x over the quantity e to the x plus 2. This one looks a little strange because we have these e to the x's in here, but we'll follow the same steps for finding the inverse of any function. In step 1, we replace f of x with y, so it's really straightforward. We just write y instead of f of x. So now we have y equals e to the x over e to the x plus 2. Okay, interchange x and y, all right, for step 2 there. So we now have x equals e to the y over e to the y plus 2. And now the challenging part, solve this equation for y. All right, well, we need to get y by itself here. So let's first begin by bringing up this denominator up by multiplying it by the other side. So this gives x times e to the y plus 2 equals e to the y. The key to this kind of problem is now to get everything with a y in it on one side and everything else on the other. So we have these y's here and these e to the y terms. So all of that needs to be on one side. I'll put them on the left side, and then we'll get everything else on the other side. But everything's all tangled up with this x here. So let's multiply this x through so that we can actually work on these terms. So we have x e to the y plus 2x equals e to the y, and now we can get all the e to the y's on one side. So I'll subtract e to the y from the right side here. Now since I only want terms with y's in them on the left, I'm going to also add this subtract this 2x from both sides. Okay, so let's clean all this up and see what we get. We have x e to the y minus e to the y equals negative 2x. Okay, here's the kicker. Now we factor out e to the y. This is where people get tangled up with this kind of problem. Factor out the e to the y. That leaves us with x minus 1 here equals negative 2x. And now we can see we're on a roll here. Divide by x minus 1. Divide by x minus 1. And we're left with e to the y equals negative 2x over x minus 1. Now we have a variable stuck up in the exponent. When that happens, we use a log to get it down. So I'm going to take a natural log of both sides, and the variable comes down to the front. Natural log of e is just 1, so this gives us y equals natural log negative 2x over x minus 1. And finally here's our last step, number 4 up here, back to our steps. We replace the variable y, we just replace that with f inverse of x. That is our inverse. Okay, natural log of negative 2x over x minus 1. We can make this right here is a perfectly fine answer. We can make this look a little nicer if we factor a negative out at the top, it's already out, and the bottom, right? So that would give us natural log 2x over 1 minus x. 1 minus x. There we go. All right. So either of these two answers would be fine. The second one looks a little nicer.